Right now with affordability being front and center, Luke.
Exactly. And affordability also means economic growth. And I think global GDP growth on a national or geopolitical or world scale is 3% next year. America is right up there at 2.5% as well. So we are rocking and rolling. And when it comes to Brussels specifically, Brussels' economy is actually very similar to the United States in regards to being a service-based economy. So the difference between Brussels and the United States is here in America, we have the capital infrastructure, the risk-taking, the venture capital, the money flow to build tech firms, and we are going to be the AI innovator and the AI winner because we literally have to be the winner here, because if we aren't, other nations are going to really stomp on our shoes. So we have to be the winner, and this administration's taking that step.
Well, certainly Howard Lutnick appears to believe so, and he is riding that success. It could also be an opportunity for the CCP to have infiltrated this country and have blackmail on people, because you've got now Chinese spies part of the story as well, Luke.
That's exactly right. And Chinese technology. Spies are the physical component. Then you actually have the technological component of what they're capable of. I mean, that's why NVIDIA is talking about not selling their AI chips over to China, because they're worried about hacking. They're worried about infrastructure getting involved with cybersecurity here in America. And this is why when it comes to the phone thing, like my first thought was, okay, that's a cool idea. And okay, maybe we could use blockchain technology. And we're at LFG invested in Circle and bullish, the Web3 build out and the digital infrastructure build out. But that doesn't solve all the problems. Even if you took a picture to verify your identity, there's AI, there's all this technology. In other countries, other people, hacking organizations could actually get involved and completely disrupt that system. So why are we trying to fix things that don't necessarily have big problems? I mean, what's so wrong with showing up physically, and actually going to the polls? I mean, why are the younger generations so in their phones in the first place in a lot of ways? We got to get back to the physical presence, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why we have to try to fix it with physically showing your ID and being there.
No, it's just ridiculous to say that he wants voting by phone, as if anyone thinks that that would be secure. The USA. Luke, while the president is defending his tariffs, at the same time, we are hearing expectations that he's going to be cutting certain tariffs on certain foods as the issue of affordability takes center stage going into the midterm elections. Your reaction on how this plays out?
In Brazil was the latest, and specifically a stock we own, Dow, which is Dow Chemical. Those should benefit from tariffs coming down, and Brazil specifically having moderate exposure. But every morning in our newsletter, we take a look at three things: inflation, growth, and liquidity. And liquidity for the first time in a long time was actually looking pretty weak because of the government shutdown. That's come back in the system. But let's talk about the government shutdown and the impact. 2018 to 2019, the government shutdown impact was only negative 0.3% of GDP. This time around, over 40 days, and about $300 billion worth of GDP, it's expected that 1% of GDP, negative 1% contraction is expected this time, because of how reliant we are on the government, even compared back to 2018 and 2019. So that GDP contraction is going to actually took a little bit of liquidity out of the system. If you look back throughout history, an interesting statistic is a negative 1% contraction in GDP correlates to 5 to 8% downturn in the market. Where was the NASDAQ just a few days ago? It was a negative 8% correction. So we are actually buyers of the dip going into this, because liquidity coming back in the system. We think the markets are ahead of this contraction that's coming in Q4 a little bit, not contraction. It's still a growth, but negative 1% decline of what was expected. That Hassett was mentioning, and Lutnick also, I believe, referred to just earlier. So we're buyers of this dip. We just bought OWL last week. We actually added to some positions last week as well. So I think this is a good area to get new money to work if you don't have money on the side, or if you do have money on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a debate here. Dell, Zoom, and Alibaba. Do you have an assessment of how this economy plays out in the fourth quarter and into 26?
Yeah, so I mentioned the government shutdown. So fourth quarter is going to become a little bit lower than maybe the initial expectations earlier this year. But look, I want to hit on Leo's point, which was a great point about the next application of AI, which goes into kind of this economic data and as we head into 2026. And that is that this time is a little bit different. I know in finance and investments, you don't always want to say this time is different. But with AI, and this AI, what if you want to call it it a bubble, if you want to call it whatever, this AI application and technology makes every company a technology company. Small business, every small business in America, every corporation out there can use AI. I use AI every single day in my business. So my point is with that is the money has flowed to the top Mag 7. We're not investors into the Mag 7. We're investors in the other 493 right now, and we're adding to those positions because as that money flows throughout the economy, you're going to get a mean reversion to the valuation. And some of those maybe big tech stocks actually don't do too well and the others do. So the economic data, I think, is still going to remain well because liquidity in the system remaining strong, growth remaining strong, and inflation coming down. As long as those three metrics look good, I think the economy is going to continue to rock.
All right, and these lunatics out there who are just really deranged and they hate Trump for what? Why? I don't know.
Maybe I'm just weird, maybe I'm just unique, but at my Thanksgiving table, we do talk a lot of money, politics, and religion. I mean, I know that's not what you're supposed to do. Maybe it's because I'm there. I don't know. I got very lucky. My wife and I, same religion, same politics, but I know a lot of married couples that actually share different politics, which is very interesting. I also have many friends that are on the opposite side. I'm going to take a thing out of the playbook there from both sides. My friends and the married couples with different politics. Joke around with each other. We have a group chat with my friends where we send memes back and forth and talk about all the funny things that each other are doing, but we joke about it, right? You don't always have to get angry all the time. So that's usually the discussions we have at Thanksgiving. I think that's where we need to be. We need to come together. I mean, at the end of the day, we're each other's friends. We all succeed when each other succeeds.
Of course. Well, Cheryl, thank you for that into law back in July.
Well, it's huge, and we talk about this pretty often in our newsletter in the morning. And one of the things we talk about is the stimulus that the government has been giving out with the tax structure and the small businesses. And I go back to this relationship with Mandami and Trump. They have to be friendly with each other because Democrats have been notorious for getting in the way of growth here in America. And what I mean by that is when Kevin Hassett is saying Q4 is going to grow at 1.5% GDP, we were probably at 2.5%. It's expected that we're actually going to have a negative 1% contraction in GDP because of the government shutdown just a few weeks ago that lasted over 40 days. And that was all because of the Democrats in nature. So the Democrats have cost the nation essentially $300 billion of growth. So that's why we have to be friendly with the Democrats. We have to work together because they are costing us revenue, they're costing us growth, and it's actually impacting businesses in the economy and getting in the way of what we need to do.
Well, Kevin Hassett walked through the expensing impact when he joined me yesterday. Watch this. This is Ethereum and XRP. Luke, your reaction.
The other thing that's not talked about is quantitative tightening ends December 1st with the Federal Reserve. That's going to be an influx of liquidity coming back into the system. So we were actually buyers of the dip, and we had a little bit of cash going into this. We had some safer stocks going into this, like Clorox that we sold last week that was selling off a little bit. But we sold that to add some beta. So we added Take-Two Interactive last week. We added OWL, asset management firm. But Take-Two Interactive is a little bit higher beta tech stock with the GTA 6 release. So we're looking to add beta into this with liquidity coming back in the system. From a crypto standpoint, I think Bitcoin's probably going to recover close to $100,000 sometime in December with optimism around the shopping season. So I think this, again, is a buy the dip kind of mentality. I think the correction has happened, and I think we'll move and grind higher from here in regards to the stock market.
Yeah, you make a great point on quantitative tightening because we're going to tomorrow.
It's the right thing for the company to do.
What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, so it is because of the drought, just like Liz mentioned. I think this beef supply is at 70-year lows right now, and this plan, if I'm not mistaken, actually accounts for about 5% of the total supply here in America of beef. So lifting the tariffs like Trump did definitely is going to improve things at the margin. It's not going to be extremely significant, but what is going to be significant is actually something we talked about earlier, and that's the big, beautiful bill. I mean, I have a small business manufacturing client last week we met with that's going over 2026 tax returns and what to expect with the big, beautiful bill. I mean, 100% bonus depreciation, the expensing we talked about, the research and development, research and experimental that's in the big, beautiful bill that's going to help these manufacturing firms. This is actually maybe a play. They're saying maybe it's because of the supply, and it is, but I think this might actually be a play for Tyson and other of these manufacturing kind of type companies to actually prepare for the future with these economic growth and become more efficient in the right areas. So I think that's what's actually happening.
Yeah, all great points. Let's take
Addressing those issues.
Great point. Luke, final
rotation
word.
Out of Mag 7 into the other names, RSP, equal weight, S&P 500, Bristol Myers because of the healthcare. I think that's what we're paying attention to today.
Hey, Eli Lilly, a $1 trillion company now.
Wow.
Great conversation all morning, guys. Liz Peek, Luke Lloyd, thank you. Join us tomorrow. I'll be talking with Federal